So shall
Okay.
I? Got it. Right. I share my screen then.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had my arm badly twisted here.
Who boy? Oh, good.
Right. Can you see that okay, everyone?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then this is the backstory on 3 photos I've taken recently and entered in club competitions, ones that have drawn some interest. This one I call On Andromeda, this one Vermilion and Steel, and this one is obviously based on Monet's Sunrise, and it won the Malcolm Leach Trophy in December, as you probably remember. Peter and Dave McGill have asked me to give a talk to explain how I made these photos. And I'm happy to do so with just the caveat that I don't keep good records. I often throw files away, and the making of the images is a little bit involved. So I can certainly show you the principles. I'm sure we can get that across, but perhaps not be able to reproduce the images exactly. But before I begin the business of how I did it, I like to indulge myself a bit, if you don't mind, by explaining why I did it. Because when you see what's involved, you'll conclude rightly that I'm, a geek of the first order. So, why is it that I bother? Well, not to win competitions, that's for sure. With the exception of the Malcolm Leach Trophy, and then only the last time, I don't take photos actually for competitions. I take them because they please me, and then I choose from the ones that please me, the ones that I fancy might please you and others, but it's that way round. So I'm not a big fan of competitions. You see, for me, photography is really not a competition. It's an art form at its highest level. It's a creative art form that I'm struggling to and do my best to master. And it's something for me more than a technical exercise in reproducing reality. Of course, I don't knock reality. I'm pleased, I'm rather proud if I can take a nice sunset like this, or the play of light on a great building like this, or a fantastic nightscape like this. I'm pleased that I've taken these photos, but I don't see them as hugely creative. If somebody else stood next to me and pointed their camera in the same direction, put their tripod where I put my tripod, they get the same picture. And there must be many photos exactly like this or very similar to this if we search the internet. And it's hardly art, it's hardly creative if we all get the same result. Here, on the other hand, are some photos that no one else has taken. I can say that with confidence because the subject matter doesn't actually exist. It's been, made by me in my digital darkroom. And this is closer to what I want. I want photos that are particular to me, different from other people. Also, I don't want to depend on being at the right place at the right time. I don't only want to take photos when I'm in Chicago or some honey spot. I want the skills to take photos every day and make ordinary scenes look interesting and impactful. So at home, I spend a lot of time working hard on my editing, as you'll see. And when I go out with my camera, I work on trying to see things a bit differently, taking photos that other people might not bother with, looking for the quirky, the strange, the patterns, the unusual and interesting and odd things. I sometimes go over to the dark side and I try intentional camera movement or waving my camera around, or as many judges think, getting it wrong. For me, if not for the judges, ICM can be moody, it can be evocative, it's certainly different, and I like it. And it breaks conventional rules, nothing sharp instead of everything sharp. So these pictures please me, and they are different. Of course, rule breaking is not the way to please a judge. Judge last week, for example, gave us the formula for making correct black and white photos. He said you need a dollop of black, dollop of white, all the shades of grey in between, and if there are shadows, you've got to be able to see the details in them. Well, I don't agree with him, as I often don't agree with judges. This is a creative art. Can something be creative and different if you follow a cookbook? I don't think so. A judge telling us what we can do, for me, is constraining. It's a bit like telling Picasso not to paint cubes, or telling Monet that his painting is out of focus and a bit blurred. The blacks here are an artistic choice, they're my choice. And if I've made a bad choice, the photos will be judged dull. But I think feeling, mood, atmosphere, originality, impact, all these things matter more than the judge's arbitrary technical standard. And that's why I don't really have much truck for competitions. I certainly don't take photographs for them. Anyway, I'm wandering off the point a little bit with that judge grumble. If you wonder why I bother, it's because I'm part geek, part rebel, part anarchist. Okay, to the main business then. This photo on Andromeda was made from this one, which is of course the departure lounge at Heathrow. And you may notice that there's a lone figure, and the lone figure comes from this photo, which was taken with clubmates on a photo shoot in Portsmouth. This photo, Vermilion and Steel, was made from this one, which is a well-known sculpture in one of the plazas in Chicago. And this one, Monet's Sunrise, was made from this coincidentally similar photo, Southampton Docks from Marchwood, one that I didn't take for Malcolm Leach, as I said, but one that I took earlier, and I noticed that there was a similarity. We go back to the Monet painting, you can see it has a sun in it, and I didn't have a sun in my photo, and the sun in mine came from another image, also taken some time ago and blended in. So now, those of you who know my style will guess by now that the first two photos were made with the mirror filter in Affinity. Oh no, you say, not that again. Well, those new to the club will perhaps not know about this wondrous filter and how it works. So I'm actually going to offer a short reminder of that, and then I'm going to apply the filter to make the first two images. Third image, the Monet lookalike, was disgracefully simple to make, and I'll show you the software for that in due course. So let's dip into Affinity and let's have a look at some things. Right, so for those who, I hope everyone can see that okay?
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah,
okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, for those who don't know the mirror filter, it's a miraculous thing. It enables me to make a picture like that from one like that. And I made this picture from this one, which is the back of the John Hansard Gallery. And I made this one, which also won a Malcolm Leach trophy, from this one. So how on earth is that possible? Well, I've made this schematic to show the principles. I've marked the center of the canvas. I've cropped it to enlarge and extend the canvas so you can see what's going on. And the filter lives here in Affinity under Filter, Distort, Mirror, which is 3 clicks away. And because I use the mirror filter quite a bit to experiment, I've made a shortcut of it down here where my mouse pointer is. And if you go on YouTube and you look on the club channel, there's a full talk with more detail on this, showing you how to make the shortcut. So we will, every time I click here, it's 3 mouse clicks effectively up here. So here's the filter. The dialog box has 3 variables: the number of mirrors, the input and the output dials, and we'll come back to that in a second. But the first thing to appreciate is that I can move I've got 1 mirror here. I can move the mirror up and down with my mouse pointer. So the way I do it is I just left click and hold the mouse down and drag down, and here is the reflected image that 1 mirror is making, and I can vary where it sits. So imagine now that this is a bridge over water, and think how I could just make a wonderful reflection like that. So that's the simplest application. Now these dials, then the output dial, I don't really use. All it does is it turns the canvas around the center as if it's on a turntable, and that has some practical uses, but it doesn't really have creative ones. So I'll give you the input dial instead, much more interesting, because what this is doing is moving the mirror that creates the image. And if I angle my mirror here at 45 degrees, I find that as well as moving my mouse pointer up and down in this vertical direction, I can take the mirror all over the canvas, and these are the 2 images that are kind of coming together thanks to the mirror. But notice that I can control their overlap, and that enables me to see something different. Okay, so we'll now use 2 mirrors, and because I can change the position of those 2 mirrors, I can show you that the 4 images now that come from those 2 mirrors, the mirrors are located where my mouse is, and I can create all this variation in the appearance of what I have that wasn't there originally. So imagine now that this is an architectural building, and you can see where all the creativity can come from. If I turn the dial, it's the same thing. It's just that what's coming together is coming from somewhere else, but you also have the opportunity through overlap to create something entirely new. Down here, my mirrors come together. Those are the 4 images that are coming together, and here, these are the 4 images. Okay, so we'll apply it again. Now, the number of mirrors goes up to 20. So if I get in a little bit closer, so you can see what's going on, I can just roll my mouse wheel here, or I can pull the slider. So I'll roll my mouse wheel, and I'll show you the amazing variation that you can get from this filter. And I'll now turn the input dial, and even more happens. And I'll move where those 20 mirrors are, and suddenly you have pyrotechnics. You have an amazing display of abstract art of any kind or any which way you want. So you can create almost an infinite number of images with this filter, but actually the ones that would, if you took architecture, the ones that are architecturally recognizable you know, this would quickly become abstract art rather than architecture. So my tip is that don't use too many filters, don't vary the angle too extravagantly, and then you will start to get interesting things. Okay, so that's the principle of the mirror filter. Let's now make a photo with it. So the backstory to this picture is we're about to catch a plane to Madeira. My dear wife's agitating for us to get to the gate. And I say, oh no, I want to take a photo. And she curses and turns the air blue, but she lets me take it anyway because she's nice like that. And what caught my eye was about a third of the photo. So I like these stripes here. I like the lattice work on the right-hand side, but I don't like the windows. I don't like the asymmetry. I don't like the empty space in the front. And I certainly don't want any passengers in the picture that I can't control. But I know that the mirror filter can do wonderful things. And so I grabbed the photo on a speculation. We off to Madeira, I kind of take landscapes and they don't please me. And all the time I'm thinking, I wonder what this would look like with mirror filter. And so it's the first one I went to when I came back. So let's apply it. And you can immediately see that there's some potential here. So the empty foreground's now been filled with a pattern, and it's quite a pleasing pattern on the whole. The passengers have all disappeared, and I quite like what I see. I'm starting to like it, but I still don't like this side. I want this side to be like this side, and of course that suggests a two mirror problem. So I increase my number of mirrors to 2. I play around a bit, and I find that when I've got my input dial at 180, I'm starting to get something that I find interesting, and I play a little bit. I have this kind of variation available to me, and I think I chose from it something that was like that. Okay, so we'll say that was what I chose. So that's 50% of the photo that I want, because I've got a vision now of what I want. And I want something which is clean and bright and futuristic. It looks rather sci-fi. I want it to have a cinematic look. And the pattern fits that, but the whites are grubby. They're not white enough. And the blacks are not black enough. There's a grubbiness there that I don't want. The lights here, for example, are out, and there are hanging wires and things. Well, these are things that are easy to address in editing if you know what you're doing and you've got a little bit of patience. So the first thing is, if I want a cinematic look, why don't I have a cinematic widescreen crop? So take the crop tool, get rid of the lights that are not showing there. And there, get rid of a little bit of the mess in the corner down here. And already that, to me, that's getting closer to what I have in mind. But I want to deal with those whites and blacks. Well, that's quite easy too. You could use a levels adjustment, but I will show you how to do it with a curves adjustment. So notice in my histogram that I don't really have any lights up here. This is the light end of the histogram, and the only bit of light I really have is probably these lights here that causes that little peak. And I don't actually mind if I blow those lights out. So I'm not risking anything by pulling this across like this and changing my white point until I'm, touching things that are more worrying. So I can do that at the light end. I've got a little bit of latitude at the dark end, but also this spike here. This spike is probably caused by these, the black of these lines. And I don't mind them being jet black, so I don't mind crushing those blacks. So I can now pull this line in a little bit, And then it's still a little bit grubby here. It's better, but it's still a little bit grubby. And that's at the light end, so I can probably pull that up. I'm not risking blowing any highlights because, you know, this point is, the upper point is fixed here. So in just by playing with the curve, I've gone from that to that, and that's a lot closer to what I have in mind. Okay, still, I don't like it. You know, I'm a perfectionist, and I don't like this stuff down here. Not sure I like these lines here. No problem. That's just a healing job. So I can here, this drop-down arrow gives me different choices. I would pick a freehand selection tool. Oh, I need to make sure I'm on the pixel layer, not on the curves layer. And then I can just freehand draw around the stuff I don't like that. And then I can use the Affinity's version of the content-aware fill, which is called InPaint, so edit InPaint. Notice there's a keyboard shortcut. I usually use keyboard shortcuts, and I'm going to use Alt and Backspace in a moment, but I'll just click there, and a little bit of processing, and that grubbiness is gone. And I do the same here, and this time I'll use Alt and Backspace. And that one's gone too. Now, of course, there are 4 of them. I won't waste your time by going through each one. I'll do something different. So this time, I don't like that line. I will use an inpainting brush, make it smaller. For those who are not very familiar with editing, but interested, I do recommend that you pick one program and get to learn the basic tools well, so that you can do it quickly, you know, so that I can quickly make the picture bigger, make the picture smaller, make the brush bigger, make the brush smaller. These are things in basic videos that it's very easy to pick up. So anyway, I will inpaint, and that line's gone. I'll inpaint, and that line's gone. And similarly here, and so on and so on. I won't, you know, there are many little lines in this picture that I might remove if I chose. The next thing I don't like is this white line here. And I don't think the inpainting tool would do a very good job with that. That's a cloning exercise. And one way of doing this cloning so that you don't mess up on the black line, you want some of this over here to be there, but you don't want it to go across the black line. So one option you have is you select the black line, you invert the selection, and then when you clone, you're cloning everything but the black line, and therefore you can't harm the black line, and therefore it's easy to do the cloning. So that's one way you can do it. Another way would be to use use blend modes. So I'll show that. So the first thing is you need just to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to use the shortcut Control J on my computer. So I've duplicated that layer, and I set its blend mode to darken. And what this is it's an instruction now that where cloning happens, it only happens if it makes the thing darker. So now I can take my clone tool, and I can clone from here, and I can just go down there like that. And I'm not going to affect this line because the white is, you know, however grubby it is, it's not as dark as the black. So I'd go through the cloning, and I would get rid of those irritating white lines. So the next thing is notice the bluish color here and the sort of glow. Well, that's nice. I think that fits my sci-fi vision for the picture, but maybe I want the blue a little bit bluer. Okay, lots of ways of doing that, but I'll show you one. So I would choose, say a recolor adjustment. I take the saturation down because it hurts the eye. I then choose the hue, and maybe that's the blue I want, and I turn the saturation down. And I have made it bluer, but now I've made all my whites blue, and I don't want that. So this is just a mask problem. So, and if there are people here who don't know what a mask is, we can take time out and go over that. But basically, a mask is a computer instruction to show or hide. And by convention, if the mask is set to white, it shows, and if it's set to black, it hides. And at the moment, this recolor adjustment layer has a mask built in, which is entirely white, meaning it's showing all the effect of the recolor adjustment. Okay, really what would be easier for me would be if it was black and it didn't show any of it. And then I can take a white paintbrush and paint on that mask and bring the blue back in just in the areas I want. So the way I turn this mask, white mask, into a black mask is I invert the layer, invert, Control I, computer shortcut. Again, I just do this routinely because I do it all the time. But anyway, I've turned that now into a black mask. I now want to paint in white on this mask over the areas that I want to color. So I take my paintbrush, I make sure the front color here is white. And I do that just by clicking, so that toggles between the white and the black. I check my brush opacity is high, the flow is high. It's a soft brush, no hardness, and I just paint. And there's blue coming in, and over here. Right, now, what I mean about practicing and knowing your tools is, really you want to get closer, you want to get the brush smaller, so you want to get used to being able to do that, without it being difficult. But it's all very easy skills to learn, actually, if you have done it at all. And the beauty of masks is this, that, if I go wrong, so, oh dear, I've got blue on there, I just change my brush to black and I paint the effect away, I hide it. So this is a job actually in spending a bit of time going around painting, as accurately as you can. Of course, I'm not going to do it very accurately here. I'm going to do it rather quickly, but you get the idea, I hope. So then let's say that I've done that perfectly. I haven't, but let's say I have. You think to yourself, oh, is that the blue that I want? Well, if it's not, you just click on the layer and you can turn the saturation up, you can turn the saturation down, you can tweak which exact color blue you have by moving the hue slider. And you have here in this layer, its opacity. So the opacity is set at 100%, but there's a slider here. So that's 0%, meaning the layer's not showing anything. That's 100%, it shows everything. And I can just move this up and down till I get exactly the blue that I want. So let's assume that is the blue I want. The final thing to finish the picture is nice to have a bit of human interest. So I looked around in the library and I came up with this nice, cool dude, who I thought would look good in the picture. So I need to select him, I need to copy him and move him across to the other picture and put him where I want. So Affinity doesn't have a select subject automatic facility like Photoshop, but you can still do quite a reasonable selection with the tools it's got. So I use the selection brush. I want the brush to be reasonable size, and with one brush, I've nearly done the job. And the reason I've done that is that if you set this to snap to edges, this little box up here, which is normally its default position, it kind of looks for similar pixels. And it's done pretty well, hasn't it? But it's noticed that the shoes aren't similar. So I've got to select those in addition. And then I've gone wrong, you see. So again, if you know your tools, you know how to get rid of, to deselect, and it's the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac. So I'm alt clicking here like that. So that's not a, it may not be a perfect selection, but it's quite a good one. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay, so I'm happy with that. So the next thing is the selection might come out a bit jagged, so you do smooth it off, and you do that with what's called feathering. So I go to feather, and I'll choose 2 or 3 pixels and apply that. And what that does is it just softens that and blurs that edge very slightly, so it doesn't look so cut out. So now, having selected him, I just need to copy him and paste him, and I just use Windows standard instruct. Oh, it looks like I've got something wrong here, doesn't it? There's another little bit here I need to get rid of. There we go. Right, so I'm going to now to use Control C to copy. I go over to my picture, and I think I'll make sure I'm on the top here and press Control V. So there's my man. He's in the wrong place. He's the wrong size. And you use the Move tool, shortcut V. So I pull him over here, and I kind of make him smaller. Do I want him to be something? And there we are. So that may not be exactly the photo I produced, but it's pretty close to it, and those are the principles involved. So I'll pause there and just ask are there any questions on how I made that photo?
Keith, there's one thing you undersell yourself, because you still have to have an eye for a picture, and also you have to be artistic, don't you?
Yes, but that's right, John. You do have to have a vision of what you want to do. But the vision with the mirror tool came to me from playing. So if I play with it a few times, I get an idea what it can do. Once I have an idea what it can do, I get ideas.
Oh, I see.
So I think the more tools you have in your locker, the more ideas you get. The things, it's a virtuous cycle, really. If you learn, you think, oh yes, I could solve that problem because I can do that. And then the next time you think, oh, maybe I'll do that with this picture. So, I think you're right. And it's a limit for all of us. How artistic are we? How imaginative are we? But, I think the more tools you've got in your locker, the more you practice doing this, the more you play with the software and have fun with it, the more you will, have ideas.
Fair enough.
I watch quite a lot of videos, particularly in the early stages. So I watched, YouTube a day on it, and those give you ideas too.
I just wanted to question, would it have been better to do some of the tweaking, the bits that you don't like, before you did the mirror, and then you wouldn't have to do it on all 4 sides?
Well,
although it's a bit hard to envisage, is it?
Terry, you could, but it's very hard. You really don't know what you're going to get. So you might have tried to clone those passengers out and spent hours on that, and then found that, so yeah, maybe, what you could do, since that wasn't a very complicated mirror, I could have gone back and I could have done some of the tweaking and then repeated the mirror. Yeah. sometimes the mirror is so unique because it can be anywhere on the canvas, you know, and you get just the look you want. And the next time you try it, you can't get that mouse exactly where you had it before. And then it would be, you know, you'd be kicking yourself. But here, because the mirror is very simple, yeah, I think you could. Yeah. So that's a fair point.
Okay.
Okay, shall I move on?
Yeah.
Everyone happy?
Yeah, I think so.
Impressed.
Yeah. Okay. Get rid of this lot. Okay. I've lost my folder. Sorry about that. Just bear with. Yeah, here we are. These are the files I want. Right. So this one's much easier for Million and Steel. So this is a straightforward mirror problem. It just took a while to see it. So all I do is I kind of make my canvas big so I can play with it, like I've shown you, like that. And I applied the mirror filter, and sorry, I'm in the wrong file. We'll cancel. And I do beg your pardon. It's not this one I meant to do. It's this one. Okay, so we do it again. Apologies. So I applied my mirror filter and I played around a bit. So I'm not going to show you all the playing because it takes a little while. And I discovered that in this approximate position, if I move the mirrors, I get something that I liked. And that's suddenly rather similar to Vermilion and Steel, except that I think I've got a canvas in the middle there. Anyway, it takes a little while to render this, so I've made one earlier to show you. But so this is what I got earlier today, and all you have to do here is, first of all, you have to crop back again, which you can do like this, and so on. I'll show you a different way of doing that. You can go to Document and Clip Canvas, and had it been completely symmetrical, had it been a rectangle like a normal photo without a mirror, that would have gone straight to the edges. As it is, there's a little bit of trimming to do to tidy up, like so. Okay, like so. And then all I have to do really is to just copy this across to here and trim it off. And the tool for that comes from this side as well. And it's the rectangular marquee tool. And I click and drag, and that selects, again, Windows shortcuts, so Control C and Control V. And what I've done there is I've made a copy of this side, which goes on the layer above. You can see it if you switch the bottom layer off like that. So I get rid of these marching ants. That's Control D, or Escape works on Affinity fine. I get the Move tool, make sure I'm on the right layer, move it across. You can see there are guidelines that help me. So I do something like that. And then I trim off the excess from the bottom layer, like that. And that's Steel and Vermilion made. Now, I demoed earlier that you could make almost an infinite number of images, didn't I? And I have an ongoing project. And my project is to find out how many photos that I like, that please me, I can get from a single photo. So taking the base picture that made this, I've then exercised a little bit of ingenuity. So what I've done is I thought, oh, well, if I cut out the sculpture, then maybe I can mirror that independently of the background and then put them back together. And so doing that, I've got all of these, and some of them are straight mirrors, and some of them are mirrors, and then I put them together in a picture, and maybe even mirror them again. So I've got first, second, third generation shapes here. So these are all my sculptures now, and I've got more, but that's enough. So perhaps you're wondering how I'm getting on with this project and how many pictures I've got from one picture that I like, and it's these. So as I go through these, just to tell you that all of these come from one single picture, which is the picture that made steel and vermilion and steel. And it's extraordinary, isn't it, the variety of stuff that you can make. I said I was a geek. But Peter, here are the next 40 entries I have for PDI competition.
Well, that's cheating, isn't it? Only having one
And
photo.
they're all made. They're all made from one photo. Ah, there's the one that you saw. So there we are.
Wow.
So that's vermilion steel. Any questions on that one, or is that one straightforward but exhausting?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think I showed you these two. Yeah, okay, right. Okay, well then we'll move on.
How many was that then? You must have counted them. What are you up to, about 40?
It's getting on for 40, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting on for 40.
Amazing.
Yes, yeah. So if I'd had 2 photos of that, gosh, I really could have gone.
You'd never be off the computer.
I really could have gone to town, couldn't I? So, okay, so that's. Oh, sorry, this one that I messed up. I just want to show how I did the compositing. So it's not very difficult, but look, I've just added a shape, and then I've added another shape like that. So, okay. Right, and then finally, called it Monet's Sunset, this folder, but it's Monet's Sunrise. Okay, so it's this picture from this one with the sun from that one. It's obvious the similarity. It's the coincidental and lucky that I've had something that's rather similar to this photo. The question, I suppose, is how I got the impressionist brush strokes and how I got the texture of the canvas. And I'm afraid it's embarrassingly simple. I turned to a plugin from Topaz. So I went to Filters, Plugin, and I have under Topaz Labs, I have all these filters, and I chose the one called impression for to make an impressionist picture. So these plugins, programs, I bought cheaply on eBay about 6 years back. I don't use them very much, but they're fun when you do. And I gather from Terry that first of all, they were then amalgamated into a program called Topaz Studio. And even that now is old hat. And Terry tells me you can't buy Topaz Studio anymore. I think that's what he said. And that, but Terry's aware of alternatives if you're interested in getting something like this. So I use that plugin. It freezes, oh, it doesn't freeze my computer. It takes a long time to render. So rather than show you the plugin in detail, I'll show you a series of screenshots and explain it. But it does exist as a freestanding program. And so this is the program. It's just I don't want to fiddle with anything. So that's what the picture looks like straight out of the box. If I put my docs photo in and I'm in impressionistic and the first preset. So up here, there's a drop-down box and you can choose different categories like ancient, impressionistic, modern, painting, pencil, pictorial, charcoal, and pastel. Obviously, I chose impressionistic for, you know, an impressionist photograph. And then here you've got a number of thumbnails that are nice presets of different kinds with names of painters very helpfully. So you've got Cézanne 1, you've got Cézanne 2, and oh look, you've got Monet 1 and Monet 2, and you've got Renoir as well. So the plugins are a start, and you can tweak them. So if we now have a look at the screenshot, so that's what you were looking at just now. Then if I were to click on one of these presets, this is what appears after a bit of a delay on my PC. I've got 21 different or 20 different kinds of brush, and I can vary the size of the brush, the amount of paint that's put on the canvas. This stroke, I can rotate it, I can alter its width and length. I can have things like spill and smudge, which must mean something to painters, but don't mean so much to me.
Yeah.
You can then alter individual colors, and it's not on this screenshot, but further down, you can alter the lighting in the picture, and you can also introduce texture, and with the texture, you can therefore make a canvas. So in the next few screenshots, I just play around with a few of these sliders. So if you look here, all I've done here to make this, so we've gone from that appearance to that appearance. All I've done is choose a different brush, and perhaps I've made the brush size and the paint volume a little bit more. Here what have I done there? I moved the stroke length slider, and I rather like that. So we'll go a bit further. So now I've altered the stroke length even more, and I've played with these things called spill and smudge that I don't understand. And I've got this, it's like the Impressionist painting The Scream, isn't it, suddenly? Here, all I've done really is actually I've changed the category to modern, so you can see the sort of modern, that's modern abstraction 1. And then I've changed the category again to painting. And here you can see how texture is being introduced into the canvas as well. And then just to show that you can get a completely different appearance from Impressionism, I've just chosen the category ancient, and this is Cave Dweller 1, as it's called. So I'm afraid I can't say exactly which combination of those settings I used, Peter. All I can remember is that Monet was not the best for Monet.
Strangely enough.
So that's how I did it. Oh, and with the sun selected from that other photo, like I selected the figure and feathered and blended in. So any questions on that, or Terry, do you want to tell people what they can buy these days?
Yeah, working. The closest thing that's reasonably priced comes from a company called Jixi Pix, Jixipix, I think, Impresso, and they have demo versions. So if you search for Jixi Pix, I'll see if I can post a link in chat.
But they're not worth the money.
Oh dear.
Well, it was worth the money to me because I won a prize, and I only it was very cheap on eBay.
Yeah, no, but you said you didn't use the Monet one.
No, that's true. That's true. Okay, so Peter, that is my 3. I've even given a defense of why I've done this, crazy though I am, and it's really because I think I'm the guy on the left, although you may conclude that I'm the guy on the right. So, okay.
Very good. Thank you, Keith.
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Well explained. That's as easy as that, folks. I can't understand why no one else has done it.
We look forward to your first version.
Yeah. Well, I put my flowers in. That was the mirror. Here's the mirror.
Okay.
So I'll stop sharing at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I've done
Right.
a couple of mirrors.
Who was that?
Bob.
Me. So
Oh,
I've
have you?
done a couple of mirrors. I've done one ages ago. I put in at New Forest